computer. Okay, good morning, Stella. Good morning, Tops PA South Central and Tops Nation. We always start with the Tops Pledge, so we will do that. I will mute you, Stella, so we can both say it. Mute. Okay, Tops Pledge. I am an intelligent person. I will control my emotions, not let my emotions control me. Every time I am tempted to use food to satisfy my frustrated desires, build up my injured ego, or dull my senses, I will remember. I will take off pounds sensibly. Cops Pledge. I am an intelligent person. I will control my emotions and not let my emotions control me. Every time I am tempted to use food to satisfy my frustrated desires, build up my injured ego, or dull my senses, I will remember. I am to be example as I take off pounds sensibly. And you can unmute. It's closed. Today, this is our first time doing it on Facebook Live. So it's, when I tried it a year ago, it was so much more complicated. I had to basically program it instead of just press the button. It's like, So we're working on with our new magazine, which is a bike on the front, the May-June 21. On page 14, Cultivating Your Garden, Weeding Out Negativity to Create a Thriving Thought Life. It's by Becky Allen. She does a lot of webinars, and the webinars are posted on tops.org. I'll go ahead and start, and I'll have you do some reading also, Stella. A few evenings ago, I found myself in a rare situation. I actually had an hour of free time. Wow, what's that? Before my Uber services for the kids were needed again for the 12th time in a row, 12th time that day. It was a perfect spring evening, an hour before dusk. The sun was lowering and the subtle breeze had shifted slightly cool. The neighborhood streets were quiet as the kids were being called inside to wash off leftover sunscreen, smears of sidewalk chalk, and grass stain needs before bedtime. Go ahead.
The chirping of crickets drew me outside to the yard as the daylight slowly faded. Barefoot in the grass, I glanced around my yard and was immediately embarrassed. My flower beds were being completely overtaken and choked out by weeds. Excuse me. As I walked closer for further inspection, I wondered how many times my neighbors noticed my lacking green thumb and hoped it emphatically read as overtired mom, too busy to notice.
Okay, go ahead. I headed to the garage, grabbed my gloves and tools needed to assist in the salvaging of the neglected yard, and headed for the mulch bed. I knelt down, sighing deeply, and literally dug in. How long has it been since I took the time to weed? I wondered as I searched for the root of the unidentified foreigner I had just pulled. My jam-packed schedule was not only showing up in Lynch's laundry I had packed in and out of I had been rotating in and out of packed and unpacked suitcases, and my deconstructed house with piles of dishes in the sink. Sounds like my house. It really does. But also in my flower beds. I wondered what my life would be like if weeding was a task near the top of my list instead of forgetting altogether. Go ahead.
I diligently worked my way around the house as my pile of pulled compost grew. Some areas were so overgrown, I wasn't sure if I was pulling small shrubbery or weeds. After humbling confirmation from a gracious neighbor, one of the offenders was deemed weed and removed, with the amount of force needed to push a stalled vehicle out of a ditch and onto the side of the road.
As I assessed and pulled my way through the flower beds, I wondered what areas of my life were overgrown with weeds that I had neglected to consistently remove. Just like a weed that's left unattended, a thought can grow and take on a life of its own. I couldn't help but wonder, had I mistaken some of my negative thoughts as truth? We can be so close to the problem that we overlook it altogether. Sometimes we need others in our lives, like my gracious neighbor, to gently expose our actions and thought life to show us that what we have read as a flower is actually an overgrown weed.
I began to think about the energy it takes daily to weed out negative thoughts, impatient tone, and selfish ways. At first, it's overwhelming, but as we continually shift our gaze to the flowers, our mindset shifts. The weeds begin to die off. Small, daily, constant effort, just like weeding, can transform our thought lives. We move in the direction of our most dominant thought and then burst out of consistency, momentum begins to take over.
Which blooms do we want to multiply? What are we focused on? Which weeds needs to be pulled from our lives? Who are the friends who can help us distinguish overgrown areas? What flowers do we need to flourish?
Our thought lives can become overgrown, much like our flower beds. Just as a flower bed doesn't become overgrown overnight, neither does our thought life. It takes mindful, daily, consistent attention. We can overturn our overgrown thoughts into a beautiful, thriving thought life.
Becky Allen is a motivational speaker, coach, and writer for winthedaypro.com in Madison, Wisconsin. She loves helping people discover the best version of themselves so they can win each day as they add value to others. And this is a copyrighted, obviously, it's in the magazine. But the negativity, we've talked about this a lot in our Zooms, and there's a lot of information on it in the tops.org. Negativity seems, especially these days, there's so much negativity in there. And when we think positive thoughts, we have positive outcomes. If we think we cannot do it, we won't do it because we're convinced ourselves we can't. And that she's a great speaker. I've gone to many of her webinars, and if you have time, go on to the videos or the webinars on the members resources, and she did
I
great.
think I watched at least one of hers.
Yes.
Listened to it. I'm not sure how she does it.
And she's really good, and she's a great speaker. Do you have any non-scale victories for us today?
No, I'm just keeping on, just staying on track, I guess.
How was your Mother's Day?
Pretty good. We had a daughter and grandkids, and then my son stopped by. So
I went on a hike, so I was alone for 3 hours. Like, yay!
it rained all day here, so
Yeah. Well, I had it started raining but drizzling, but I had my emergency poncho, so we're good. I'll always be prepared. But do you have any questions? Are you going to IRD?
yeah.
I cannot wait to get those links. And we're going to close with, where is the picture I took of I love the one Kathy Conover gave us. I pledge that I will try this week to keep in mind the goals I seek, to get some exercise each day by walking, jogging anyway, to eat to live, not live to eat, to reach my goals without defeat. So by this pledge, I'll live each day and I'll weigh less each time I weigh. Sort of rhymes like Dr. Seuss, but hey, it works. My chapter has adopted this one, so we're good. Hopefully, it's a short one today. That's good because first time trying Facebook Live. I will see you hopefully on Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Thanks.
You're welcome.